Hello, welcome. It is me, Harvest TCG, and this is my first YouTube video. So thanks for checking this out. This channel is going to be about my passion and affinity for trading card games. Like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, but specifically Metazoo. Metazoo is my favorite TCG of all time, and in this video I'll talk a little bit about my TCG journey and how that kind of resulted in my affinity for Metazoo, and kind of how I got back into the hobby after being a childhood collector into my teens, and then kind of falling off and picking it back up in my adult years here. So just a little bit about me. I'm 31 years old, so I was born in the early 90s, and means that, like, for me, trading card love and experience all began with Pokemon. So I know older generations will come from like trading, or I'm sorry, garbage pail kids and like baseball cards and tops and all the stuff that tops has done for a long time. So for me, it was Pokemon. And I just remember being like 7 years old in first grade and like on the playground, being exposed to the cards and just wanting them immediately. Everybody had them. And then I acquired some. My mom took me to Kmart and I got some. And I remember my first really cool pull was a Gyarados from base set. And I remember the next day I was at school and an older kid made a trade for it, and he just completely robbed me, right? Like, he did me dirty as hell. I don't know, I think I traded for like the Machamp promo foil, which is super common. And that ultimately ended up in my elementary school completely banning Pokemon. So like, we had it for a few years and then they took it away, and everybody was really sad. But Pokemania persisted, in the late 90s into the early 2000s. That led me to Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Kind of launched at the perfect time in the States, coming off of Pokemania, and captured my demographic, which was like 10 years old or whatever. And that's what brought me into playing TCGs. When I was a Pokemon guy, I just collected it and I played the Game Boy games and stuff. So I would never I've never played the game. I've still never played the game. But I've played Yu-Gi-Oh! That's what got me into playing TCGs, and I did that with my cousins and my brother and friends in elementary school, and that was a great time. I met some amazing lifelong friends from Yu-Gi-Oh! And still talk to them to this day. But then Yu-Gi-Oh! Kind of that introduced me to the local game stores too, right? So I remember my first ever like experience playing in a tournament was at an LGS in the Milwaukee metro area, and that was probably in 2003 or 4 or something like that, 2005. Awesome times, man, just amazing times. And that led me to, of course, Magic the Gathering, which is just like everybody's first stop for playing like real trading card games, strategic games. I mean, like Yu-Gi-Oh! Was strategic and whatnot, but Magic's just a different level, right? So for me, I got into Magic because my neighborhood friends. Well, you gotta understand this too. I grew up with an mostly analog childhood. Like, yes, I had devices and video game consoles and a PC. I grew up with the PC. I learned how to interact with it in the early 2000s. We took typing classes. I grew up with the advent of the internet, and I saw it go from something very niche and dorky to just completely pervasive, and everybody in the world interacts with it daily and has a phone in their pocket and whatnot. Everybody's activities are online now. But I grew up with a mostly analog childhood, so like we were outside a lot. Like we were like climbing trees, hanging out by this little creek by my house and fishing, hanging out in the woods, riding bikes and stuff like that. It's just awesome, playing baseball and basketball and football and stuff. And that led me to my buddies one day being like, "Hey, have you ever played this game?" And they all pulled out decks of cards from their pockets. And they showed me the game, and I was like, "Oh, it's like Yu-Gi-Oh!, but way cooler, more mature." And that I was just totally absorbed into it. And they're like, "Yeah, you know what? If you want to play, you need your own color, because we all play, they had like a blue player, a green player, a red player, blah, blah, blah. So I had to end up playing white because I guess nobody wanted to. And that led me to buying from that local game store I was talking about. I picked up it was a cat tribal deck from Mirrodin. And it was like cat tribal, equipment centric. Loxodon Warhammer was in there. I always loved that card. But that was so cool. And I would just like carry this deck of cards in my pocket. And we were like play outside, like when we were like just hanging out. Like it was like in Yu-Gi-Oh! In the Battle City arc, right? Like I think every kid my age, my demographic, 30 to 35, probably grew up with watching that Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc with the freaking dual discs. And it was just like the most badass thing, like going around town and like battling your friends with the cards, and the monsters came up virtually and stuff. And like, of course, that's not how Magic the Gathering looks when you play it, but it feels like that, especially when you're a kid. So it's just magic, right? Fast forward, I got very into Magic, and my friends in high school did too, and we became like amateur Magic players, and we would go compete at every F&M. We would go play like in the Star City Games tournaments and circuits and stuff, and like the amateur events that Wizards would put on if possible. And I traveled, like I'm up in Wisconsin, but we went to like Illinois and Missouri and Ohio and just like all over the Midwest playing Magic at a very amateur level. I think the best I ever did was I top 8'd I got 9th at a Star City Open where I missed top 8 play-ins, so that was kind of heartbreaking. There's a recording of that. God, if those exist, there's somewhere out there. But anyways, I played Magic into college, and when I got into college, I kind of just gave it up. I got too busy with school and my other life, and just kind of moved away from Magic, and I sold my cards, all in my collection, a couple $1,000 right after I graduated school. And then I transitioned into my career and working life and blah, blah, blah. Fast forward to the pandemic and 2020, just like almost everybody, I circled back into the hobby with Pokemon. But that, I was just kind of exploring it, and, I realized like, oh, Pokemon's pretty cool still. And, but then I discovered Metazoo. I discovered Metazoo. From just like an online circle of people and communities that I was involved with. I heard about it one day. And then I was living on the east side of Milwaukee, great city. And there's a local game store down there, and I would frequent it to talk to the guy and maybe pick up like a couple of Pokemon packs here and there. I'm not like seriously a big Pokemon collector or anything, but it was right around, it was in 2022. And I went in there one day, and UFO had just come out. And he had some booster boxes, and he had the blisters too. Specifically, he had, I actually still have it because I'm a sentimentalist. He had the Foo Fighters blisters, which are right here. This is actually the first one I opened. So I opened this pack up. Didn't have anything really noteworthy. No hits, foil hits or anything. Is some reverse holo. I don't know. But I remember looking at, oh shit, no big deal, just dropped the first edition Metazoo comic, that's fine. Pause. I remember pulling out this guy, this freaking tree token, right? Lily did the art. It's a tree token, but I don't know why, I just loved the card so much. Like, it's like folk art, like, I don't know, it just gripped me. Like, I didn't really think like cards could just be something like that. And I don't know why, but the next day I was just like researching Metazoo cards, and I saw the Prism Aura, and I was like, I need wilderness. I just was in love with the Prism Aura. It's freaking beautiful. And that led me to going to Target and picking up the smoky blister thing. Actually, I got one right here that I'm going to rip soon. Maybe I'll make a video about that. But I bought that, and the rest is history. I just, here we are. I love Metazoo. If you interact with me, you know that. Yeah, shout out everybody on Oasis and all the people still left in the community and us chatting and, talking about Metazoo. Shout out to all of you guys. I really enjoy being able to talk to the community and interact. It's like the best part of Metazoo, right? But yeah, it just led me into realizing like, man, Metazoo is so cool. I love this concept of folklore and cryptids and cryptozoology for me, like my biggest goal in life is to be a published author. So like Metazoo just like lit up my imagination in the best way, totally brought me back to childhood and some of my best memories. And I don't know, it's still to this day when I look at the art, like the Sugimori style watercolor based aesthetic, like I just love it. It harkens me back to the 90s with like, yeah, the early Pokemon Sugimori stuff. But yeah, and just the stories and the legends that we all grew up and know here in North American mythology. It's just awesome. Like, what can I say? Like, it makes me, my imagination light up every time. So yeah, that's it. That's why I love Metazoo. With all this crap with like the ownership and stuff, like I don't even care. Oh, look, there's my Frogman rug back there. I don't care who ends up owning it. Just as long as they bring it back to something that the fans can appreciate and consume once again, irrespective of like Mike and Andy and all the douchebags that ownership that messed up, what was such a magical thing. So fingers crossed, we're still here. We're still collecting. I'm still chasing master sets, chasing grails. So yeah, I don't really see that going away. And I'm looking forward to the return of Metazoo. So yeah, thanks for watching this rant about my experience. And hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care. Peace.